Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Good to see everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the McLean County Board regular meeting Tuesday, October 16, 2018 to order. I'm happy to tell you that notice was received by Member George Wendt in accordance with our rules, and he is requested to participate this morning remotely under County Board Rule 20-20 in accordance with our Open Meetings Act. Does anybody have an objection to Member Wendt participating this morning? If not, then I'd like to welcome George. Do we have him on?
Yep. George, you still there?
Hello, everybody.
Good morning. Welcome. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks for joining us. We will go on from there, and we'll have the invocation by Member Segoviano. Please rise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our Heavenly Father, once again we call upon you to guide us in our thoughts and actions so as to best serve the citizens of here in McLean County. We also ask you to keep safe those who are working in the fields to harvest the crops that will help to feed our nation. We also ask that you protect those who are building and repairing our road, bridges, and highways so that we enjoy safe travel throughout the year. And as our young people have returned to the classroom on every level, we ask you to instill them with the knowledge that so someday they may become the leader of our democracy. We ask all this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
County Clerk, please call the roll.
Carla Robustelli. Susan Schaefer. Here. Ryan Scritchlow. Here. Paul Segoviano. Here. David Seltzer. Here. James Solner. Here. George Wendt is here.
George, are you here? George? George, are you there? There you are. Oh. George, are you there?
I'm present.
Okay. Lori Woolreb, absent. Josh Barnett.
Present.
Jacob Beard.
Present.
William Casely.
Present.
Don Cavallini.
Here.
Chuck Erickson.
Here.
George Gordon.
Present.
Mark Johnson, absent. Randall Martin.
Here.
Catherine Metzger.
Present.
Scott Murphy.
Here.
Eric Rankin.
Present.
John McIntyre.
Present. We have 18 members present and 2 absent, and we do have a quorum. We have no appearance by members of the public this morning. We'll move on to the consent agenda before you. What's a
Move be approved as presented.
motion by Member Segoviano, second by Member Metzger.
No.
I'm sorry, not second by Member Metzger, second by Member Schaefer. We have a request from Member Metzger to would you like to go ahead and have the floor?
Yes, I would like to pull from the consent agenda C, 1, A, B, and C.
Motion to pull A, B, and C from the consent agenda. Is there any other requests at this time? Any other comments about the consent agenda? If none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented before you, please say aye. Aye. Opposed. We do have a 2/3 transfer ordinance presented under this business order of business. Are there any dissenting votes on the transfer ordinances? If not, then they are considered to be approved unanimously, and we will move on. We have no resolutions today at all, so we'll move to the report of standing committees. Executive Committee, Vice Chair Solner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Executive has no items for action today. You can see our report on the unapproved minutes on pages 4 through 8. I would ask you all to take an opportunity to read the different minutes from the other districts. They're really pretty interesting if you haven't looked at them, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee, Chairman Seltzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first motion we bring is request approval of a resolution amending the current recording fee schedules for the county clerk's office, and I would move that.
Motion by Chairman Selzer, second by Member Kaisley. Comments or questions? If none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried.
The second item we bring is request approval of an economic loan development program, and I would move that.
Motion on the floor by Member Selzer to approve the economic development program. Is there a second? And a second by Member Cavallini.
Mr. Chairman, if I could at this time, I would also like to make a motion that we take this and lay it on the table, that this motion be tabled.
Motion to table this item. Is there a second? Second by motion by Member Selzer, second by Member Robustelli.
And just to comment, while it's not a debatable motion, I do want to say that there's been some questions, not about the program, but some clarifications that finance is going to take a look at.
And let me make a comment if I'm permitted to do so as chair of the board. I mean, this is a completed document that can be used to help small businesses, and we want to be sure that it is something that is well in order, something that is usable. I'm going to recommend that the Economic Development Council come to the next Finance Committee as well, if you can get that on your agenda, sir, at the time, as well as review by our council, our legal counsel, and theirs if they so choose at the time. So we'll see if we can get this document up and running and going best we can, and everybody on board. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Oh, okay. If no comments, we can't make comments. I'm sorry. So a motion is on the floor to approve. All in favor, please say aye. To table. To table. Thanks for all your help. Is there a second? We've got it. Okay, we're done. It has carried. We'll move on to the report of the. Do you have any other items, sir?
No, sir.
Report, excuse me, of the Health Committee. Chairman Schaefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health Committee has two items for action today. The first is request approval of an amendment to McLean County Code, Article 18, Miscellaneous Code Fees, Chapter 205, Section 205-95, Chapter 310, Sewage Disposal Systems, Water Wells, and Geothermal Exchange System Fees, and I so move.
Motion by Member Schaefer, second by Member Gordon. Comments or questions? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you. The second item is a request approval of contract with the Illinois Department of Public Health for fiscal year 2019 emergency preparedness, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Schaefer, comment, or second by Member Segoviano. Comments or questions? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Our general report can be found on pages 43 through 56 of the unapproved minutes packet.
Thank you. We'll move on to the Land Use and Development Committee. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Land Use and Development Committee brings three items for action. The first item is item 6C 1A. Approve the request of Aerosmith Renewables 1 LLC by Nexamp Inc. in case SU-18-23 on parcel 24-21-200-007. It is requesting a special use to allow a solar power generating facility in the agricultural district on property in Aerosmith Township, immediately west of 3300 East Road and approximately 4.4 miles south of 1100 North Road, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Erickson, second by Member Soldner. Comments and questions? Member Metzger.
As most of you know, I have a concern about our 20-year comprehensive plan that requires us to try to maintain and do our best to maintain high-quality farming ground, soil, and the LISA score for this piece of property is 247.6 out of a maximum of 300. And as we know, a score of 230 or above means that the property is of very high value for agricultural land protection. So I will be voting no on this one.
Okay, other comments? Discussion, Member Cavallini.
I also will be voting no. I had the privilege of attending a conference with Phil Dick a couple of weeks ago up at Starved Rock and learned a lot about these solar farms and how many are applying across the state. I think, as I recall, there were like 740 applications so far and probably more on the drawing boards. This is kind of a preliminary first step, as I learned, into what is going to become a lotto system, a lottery system, in which all these farms are going into the big pot and someone is drawing out the lucky winners. And the lucky winners could be perhaps all in one county. They could be scattered throughout the state. Nobody knows for sure. This lottery would take place, I think, in the early part of next year. I too feel that we really need to look at other ground before we start using our wonderful soil that we have been blessed with in McLean County. And I will be supporting C1C because that is exactly what I think should be done as we look into these solar farms, to use land that has of little of or no other value like a landfill. I think this is a terrific way to use land that otherwise would not be used, and it would be used for a constructive reason. I would like to see the county somehow make a survey of property like the landfill that for many years has not been of any use, of any value, and perhaps solar farms could be located, if they are interested, in these areas. I'm not to say that I would rule out agricultural location, but I think our priority should be land of lesser agricultural value, like this landfill.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Zollner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is probably getting to be broken record, but again, I'm going to support this this case, the zoning case here, for a couple things. One, these were all vetted by the Zoning Board of Appeals. They spent time looking at these as they have in the past. There wasn't much discussion as far as any problems with this. To me, this is just a different type of production. It's not crop production, but it's production, and we're not taking the land out of production because it can always go back. If you talk to most of the farmers this year, they've got a big crop, prices are down, and there's not a problem with production in the county right now. So to me, it's a property rights issue. The farmers have an opportunity to make some extra income, and I'm going to support this.
Thank you. Member Selzer.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support it because, number one, the job potentials that it brings for the construction of these sites is great for our county. It also lets landowners do what they want, et cetera. However, I will say this, is these types of things, whether it's a windmill or a solar farm, continue to come to us with questions. I do not understand for the life of me why our comprehensive plan says that this is very high value for ag protection. When you look up the definition of agriculture, it talks about, I forget the exact words, but vegetable kinds of crops. It doesn't talk about wind, and it doesn't talk about sun. I really hope at some point we take a look at this and we make those changes, because I agree that if you're harvesting the sun or you're harvesting the wind, then it can be agriculture, but not as defined by what our code says. So there's a big conflict here, even with LISA scores. It's pretty emphatic about what we should be looking at for very high production fields, yet we continue to see requests to ignore that. So it is a confusing topic, and one that I hope we can, I hope Member Metzger and others will help and get this on the discussion blocks to fix this. So, but I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Barnett.
Just to clarify, this land is private, right, owned by private citizens, and they have the ability to do what they want with it. We don't throw a fuss if, of course there are limits to that, but we don't throw a fuss if they change from soybeans to corn one year or another, or if they took out their corn and soybeans and decided to plant, let's say, tobacco in their field instead, which of course is a crop that would not flourish in Illinois. That's still up to the landowner to be able to do that. And I don't really don't understand what the continued issue is with this. This is a project that is being done by a local landowner that is bringing jobs into this community for the folks who will help build out these solar farms. This is going to help add to our tax base over the years. And I appreciate the concerns about the comprehensive plan, but the fact is that our comprehensive plan does need to be updated. It's been a while since we've had a new comprehensive plan roll out. Now, that doesn't mean that we stop doing anything because the comprehensive plan hasn't been updated. When you get toward the end of that plan, there are times when you have to make sort of, you have to call an audible on the field, right, and make changes there until you get a new comprehensive plan in place. And I think we're sort of in that right now with this particular issue. So in the coming years, I assume after Normal is done with their comprehensive plan, the county in turn will then start working on theirs. And I think that'd be a good thing to update some of these to make a reflection of this. But until that happens, we can't just sit by and do nothing. So I'm supporting this, if you hadn't figured that out from my comments.
Thank you. Member Segoviano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also will be supporting the motion. This comes to us from our opponent, Zoning Board of Appeals. With unanimous decision, was held in a public hearing, so I will support this as well.
Okay, any further comments? Member Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just looking at C1A now, and I looked ahead quickly to C1B and C1C. I don't see in any of them, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it before, the acreage that is going to be given over, if we approve this, to the solar farm. There are lots of references to the area, to the areas of land, and the boundaries. There's some reference to the footage of the roadway footage of the boundary, but I don't see any reference to acreage. And I would have to pull out all of, I'd have to come down to the office and go back through an awful lot of previous county board meeting packets and ZBA minutes as well. But I don't recall seeing acreage referred to either very often or even at all. And that becomes a question in my mind with regard to concerns about how much farmland is being taken out of production for solar farms or wind farms.
Has obviously dealt with that as far as acreage, but we duly note that we could make sure it's listed in our packet as well.
Just I had spotted that a couple of days ago and didn't take the time to find out what the ZBA
We will take that under
minutes were.
advisement and make that recommendation to staff. Thank you. Any other comments? If none, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I'm sorry. You raise your hand if you had a nay vote, please, so we can record it. Member Cavalier and Member Metzger, too. Okay. Thank you. The motion has carried. You have the floor, Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 6C1.
You had an aye. It was an aye. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but yeah. Thank you, and I'll try to wait for Mr. Wendt's vote to come in. Thank you.
Thank
Member
you.
Erickson?
Yes, the Land Use and Development Committee moves item 6C1B, approve the request of Aerosmith Renewables 2 LLC by Nexamp Inc. in case SU-18-24 on parcel 24-21-200-007. It is requesting a special use to allow a solar power generating facility in the agricultural district on property in Aerosmith Township immediately west of 3300 East Road and approximately 0.4 miles south of 1100 North Road, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Erickson, second by Member Scritchlow. Comments or questions on this item? I'm assuming they are the same. Member Metzger.
It is the same. The Lisa score is 247.6.
Other comments? Member Barnett.
A question, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask this at this time, but the McLean County Farm Bureau, who is an advocate for farmers and for farms in this area, have they come out in opposition of this?
Not that I'm aware. Does anybody have a?
They did appear.
I don't know. That's information we can discuss because of the ZBA ruling. I understand.
You can't even have the.
That's right. We won't. Okay, thank you. That's okay. Understood. Any other comments or questions? If none, all in favor of this motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
2 recorded nay votes. Thank you. Mr. Wendt did vote aye. Okay, Member Erickson, that motion carried. We'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Land Use and Development Committee moves item 6C1C. Approve the request of Terra Navigator LLC in case SU-18-22 on parcels 21-07-100-017, 21-07-300-016, and 20-12-400-011. It is requesting a special use to allow a solar-powered generating facility in the Agriculture District on property in Bloomington and Dale Townships at 2105 West Oakland Avenue, Bloomington, Illinois. And I so move.
Motion by Chairman Erickson. Is there a second? Second by Member Cavallini. Comments or questions?
As Member Cavallini identified, I will be voting yes for this one. The owners are the Nord family, and they're upstanding citizens in this community, have been good neighbors to all the property owners around this site. They are the owners and the custodians of the closed landfill, and this particular project will be on that closed landfill. And as Member Cavallini identified, I think it is an ideal use of the land, so I can support this.
Any other comments? Discussion. If not, all in favor of this motion, please say aye. Opposed? The motion has carried unanimously, and we'll turn the floor back to Member Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Land Use and Development Committee has no other items to be presented for action. Our general report can be found on pages 29 through 31 of the unapproved minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the report of the Transportation Committee. Chair Member Casely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no items for action. We did have a meeting on October 2nd, which is reported on pages 17 to 22 of the unapproved minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the report of the Property Committee. Chairman Segoviano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We bring one item for action this morning, and request approval of emergency appropriation ordinance. Request approval of emergency appropriation ordinance amending McLean County fiscal year 2018 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for facility department, which requires a 2/3 county vote, and I would so move.
Motion by Chairman Segoviano, second by Member Selzer. Are there comments or questions? If none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And motion has carried.
We have no further items, Mr. Chairman. Our unapproved minutes are found on pages 24 to 28.
That vote requires a 2/3 vote. I want to be sure we didn't miss anyone. A dissenting vote. It is unanimous and carries. Thank you. Thank you, Member Segoviano. We'll move on to Justice Committee. Chair Member Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Justice Committee brings 2 items for action to the board this morning. Item G1A, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2018 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for the Children's Advocacy Center and court-appointed special advocates. Requires a 2/3 vote, found on page 252, and I'll move that.
Motion by Member Gordon, second by Member Cavallini. Are there comments or questions? This is a 2/3 vote. Member Scritchlow will abstain from this as member of the CAC board. If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Are there any dissenting votes to be recorded? If not, it is carried. Thank you.
Item G1B, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2018 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance, Fund 0452, Metro Communications Center Fund. Requires a 2/3 vote on page 253 of our packet, and I'll move that.
Motion by Chairman Gordon, second by Member Martin. Comments or questions? If none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Are there any dissenting votes to be recorded? It is unanimous. Motion is carried.
Our general report can be found in the unapproved minutes on pages 9 through 16, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Gordon. We'll move on to the report of the County Administrator, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing for the county board this morning. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll move on to any other business of communication at this time. I have one, the second annual Buchanan Buddies Kickball Tournament will be on October 28th at 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Anderson Park. It will be a three-team double elimination round robin, and we do need players for our team, for the county board and county administration. There are two other teams this year, the health department and their advisors and the state's attorney's office, and I think there will be a draft on any court services people that would like to participate, including judges as well. There will be a social hour at 5 p.m. If you do not choose to participate on our team, we have a 15-person roster, then there is time for you to all come and join us for food at a social hour, and that is at Anderson Park right behind my house, and information will be forwarded to you. Our team coach is Mr. Smith, and if you do choose to play, and we do need some young, fast participants, athletic people to play. And I would like to see everyone come. I'd like to see a good sign of unity and fun for the afternoon. Please see Mr. Smith today if you can, because he has to turn in the roster by midnight on Friday, as expressed by the tournament coordinator, that's me, as well. We did discuss having an over 65 game, but we got tired of talking about it, so we ruled that out. Also, there will be a meeting of the Liquor Control Commission immediately following this adjournment of this meeting in room 404. So all subcommittee or Liquor Control Commission participants, please come to room 404. Other than that, if there are no other comments, we will have approval of the bills, and we have the bills reviewed and approved by our auditor in the amount of $2,731,870.06. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Member Segoviano, second by Member Casely. Any comments? If none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion has carried, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Wendt.
Thank you, Mr. Wendt.
Message for Bill.